From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Corey Abel from VETTX. Welcome, Corey.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming to Akron.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Let's dive right in.
Yeah.
Dealers are struggling to find, the right vehicles, right used vehicles. What can they do? What can they do to find the right used vehicles?
Yeah, so private party acquisition. 40% of the transactions done in automotive industry on car sales is done on the private party sector. So, accessing the right inventory, the right cars in their market is the best way to approach the inventory right now for a dealership.
Well, now, at a dealership, say they're a 200 car a month store. What does it look like to be? Is there a department? Is it a group of people? Is it the people you already have? Like what's the right way to do that? To be buying from private parties, and what does it look like?
Yeah, so you want to take it as an approach like to supplement your inventory, right? With private party, and then start building a buy team. We teach everything on that level, but we want you to supplement your inventory with private party acquisition. You're still going to have to buy cars with auctions, so probably like a 60-40 split to get you going. But the best part about it is you get to meet all these sellers in your market on top of that. When you're engaging with these people.
So I guess in addition to getting cherry vehicles, you're also getting to bring new customers into your dealership?
Yeah. It's huge brand awareness, right? Imagine all these seller intenders in your market that you get to meet that you never got to meet before, that you don't have to spend any marketing dollars on. It's just a phone call or a text message, and you're engaging with these people that are actually, seller intenders that could be buyer intenders. So it's a great avenue to create traction.
So you said 60-40. Is it 60? You think 60% of the cars would be from private parties and 40% would be from auction?
Yeah, that's...
Or is it the other way around?
We have several dealers going 100% private party acquisition.
Really?
Yeah. There's people that don't want to step foot in the auction anymore. And, it takes a while to get your dealership operation and process used to private party acquisition because it's a change in my mindset, for your team and for your operation. But the dealerships that are doing that and they give it an all-in approach to private party acquisition, they're the ones making all the money right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the department that does that, but before we go there, let's talk about the sources. Where are you finding all these private parties? How are you finding them?
Yeah, so anywhere you list your private party car. So we try and go after that. Okay. So cars.com, Craigslist, KSL, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, all those platforms where you're going to list your private party car, we go and pull from that.
Okay, so you're basically you're looking for all the people that are selling their car, and then you're contacting them and asking them for the opportunity to buy it.
Yeah, anything on the private party side.
Okay.
So we go and pull that into our platform to give the dealer access to become more efficient and effective to go after those seller intenders.
Of those people, how many of them, what percentage are willing to come to do you make them come to the dealership, or do you give them a ballpark on the phone, or and what percentage of them are even willing to talk to you?
Yeah, so there's all different tactics. We see it all different across the nation, whatever you want to do. Some of the aggressive approach is to go get every car. They have 6 drivers. They'll go cut a check on site. They'll talk to the seller over the phone. They'll get them to do a FaceTime, whatever it takes to make them feel comfortable, and they'll go get the car. They might drive 6 hours away to go get a specific product. So we also see I'm in favor of having your buyers at your dealership operation and bringing all these sellers into your store to get to meet your team. And that's where I think the biggest value is of private party acquisition. It's not just the 3 times the gross you're going to get on the front end. It's not the wholesale avenue stream you're going to get, right? You're going to get more shop gross internally. But you're also going to get a lot of traction with brand awareness of bringing these sellers into your dealership that get to meet your team. And once you relieve them of a pain point and you cut them a check, they don't forget it. And they come back to your store. I've done 3 or 4 different stores and gotten really good at private party acquisition. And you just see, you know, on a slow day in your dealership, all of a sudden you got 3 people coming in to sell their car. And it creates energy and culture, and, you know, and that's what we're all looking for in the automotive space, you know, to get our dealership to have that energy every day.
Well, now, what does it look like when you're buying these cars? And we kind of talked about where you're finding the people. We talked a little bit about the process. I mean, are the salespeople that are selling cars also buying cars? Are the managers reaching out to these people? Are you hiring, you know, a dedicated team of people?
Yeah.
What does that normally look like?
Yeah. So it's funny because we want the dealers to do it the best way we know. We teach. We don't just sell a software. We teach private party acquisition. And we just are giving you the tool behind that to be that much more effective and efficient in the private party avenue. I would say that the most effective approach is to train your buyer in-house. Have a focus on private party acquisition where that buyer is dedicated all day long, just like they would be dedicated to selling cars, right? Because your best buyer is better than any salesperson you're going to have on the floor. And to back that up, it's like if you have the best inventory, your sales talent can be half that of what it used to be, right? If you need a strong salesperson to sell, you know, every same rental car in your market, I mean, that person's got to be very strong to sell that car, right? Because the guy down the street has that car. But if you got the off-brand cars that nobody else has in your market, or the best product, or the cream puff, so to speak, or whatever in your market that nobody else has, that nobody can buy at the auction, and they're cleaner, they're one owner, they're better taken care of, they don't have the recon on them, you know, that's worth a lot. I mean, that's worth a lot. So why not specialize and focus and make that the best department in your dealership?
You know, that makes sense to me. I mean, like, I'd say just about everybody in America has a expectation of what it's like to buy a car. And probably very few people have an expectation of what it's like to sell a car. And not to mention the fact that if I walk into your dealership, if I call you on the phone, if I submit an internet lead, that's a communication that I started. I initiated that. But if I'm just trying to sell my car because some dealership didn't offer me enough for it, and private party, and then you call me, there's definitely going to be more apprehension there because, one, I don't know who your business is, and two, you know, I probably already had an experience I was unhappy with, you know, trying to sell my car to a dealership.
Yeah.
And so I could definitely see why that salesperson, they've got a harder road. I mean, it's going to be more difficult. So you probably do need a more talented individual.
Yeah, and if you train them the right way, you're going to get that seller and tender to bond with you and build that relationship, because once they've gotten beaten up, you know, they went to the Walmart parking lot in the dark, or the person didn't have the money, you know, they're going to figure out that they don't want to mess with this avenue anymore. It's not safe, right? And so if you're there with a good follow-up system, which that's what VETTX provides, you know, you're going to get them when they're worn down a little bit in that 10 to 12 days, and you're going to get that car right, you know, and you're going to be there for them, because it's not easy to sell your car private party, you know, and they think they can get all the money, you know, for it. And once they realize that, hey, they remember you. They're going to call you back, and you're going to tell them how easy it is to do business with a dealer, because that's what we do, right? We know how to cut them a check. We know how to do the paperwork. We can take care of it. We can have it fast and efficient, you know, for them, and make it easy. So,
well, now, if we're going to try to attract these, you know, very talented individuals to be a part of our private party acquisition team, how do we compensate them?
Yeah, so we see it, you know, basically, you know, hourly wage, you know, and then a bonus per car, you know, certain $200, $300, $400 per car, you know, because what are you paying on auction acquisition? You're paying $900 something bucks per unit, right? So why not pay, you know, well on a bonus level platform to supplement these people to make it attractive? You know, it's well worth it. You know, I mean, you can pay them just as much as a normal salesperson, or even more.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're more valuable.
They are. I mean, they really are. I mean, if you think about it, you know, the traction it drives in your shop alone, you know, when you have these good private party cars coming in, they're not coming from the auction. You know, you're creating that good internal used car gross that every dealership wants and needs. You know, you're turning those good cars rather than all these issue cars coming out of the auction.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
You know, it's funny. When I sold cars, I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but the PT Cruiser had just come out, and so every used car manager would go buy them for more than they cost new, and put them on the used car lot. And you know, when you talk about it doesn't take a lot of skill to sell a car everybody wants. Like everybody was hoping they would get the up for the PT Cruiser because, oh my gosh, you know, we're going to charge $9,000 more than what the thing costs, or whatever we're going to charge extra.
Yeah.
So if you have the right inventory, you don't have to be good at selling, because people are going to see it, they're going to come in and they're going to buy it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what my slogan is. Your best buy team is always going to be better than your best sales team.
Interesting.
And it's a great avenue.
And it sounds like the income is really there. I mean, if somebody's making $200, $300, $400 a unit, how many on top of an hourly wage? What how many units are they buying in a day? I mean, if somebody who's good at it, I mean, are they buying one every other day? Are they buying 5 every day? Like where's the range?
I mean, we see buyers probably, I would say, across the industry is 15, a month. But we see buyers buying up to 50, 60 cars in a month.
That's an income right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
It's a $20,000 bonus, $24,000 bonus at 60, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just trained a dealership. They had 3 buyers. They just kicked it off. And I think all 3 of the buyers averaged 14 a month in their first month.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were just dedicated to it. They want it. Like I keep saying, and I teach all these dealer operators that if you make it the best department in your store, you're going to print money. And that's the truth. All the dealers that are focused in this avenue are the more successful ones.
Now, if I'm a dealer and I'm not doing this at all right now, and I'm thinking about getting into it, how am I able to know what the opportunity looks like in my market? Like, are you able to help them? I call you on the phone. I say, Corey, I saw that interview with Brian. It looks great. I know nothing about this. Is there an opportunity for me to be successful in my market?
Yeah.
How do you figure it out?
Yeah, we have a form you can fill out on our website. Just go to VETTX.com, VETTX.com. We'll do a evaluation on your market, and we want you to be successful. So we're going to make sure that your market has enough listings on whatever markets you want to buy, right? Because VETTX sells a radius, market circumference on where we want you to be successful. So we'll do an evaluation, over a Zoom. And let you know what it looks like.
Like, I mean, what's the number? Like, I mean, how many listings need to be in my market for me to be successful? Like, what percentage of those listings am I maybe going to be able to buy?
Well, it tends to a lot about what kind of horsepower you want to put behind it, right?
Okay.
If you came to me and you said, I have one buyer, then we're going to look at, okay, well, we want that to be 15. And then we back into it based on the population in that radius, right? And we can kind of get a rough estimate of, 20 listings per day per million.
Okay.
And so we kind of calculate it for you, and we can give you, a rough approximate closing ratio, which is hard for us because every buyer is different, every facility is different, every focus is, they just focus different, right? How dedicated are you to buying private parties? Relation and success on how you're going to close, right?
I mean, if you're getting 20 listings per million people per day, and if you've got, if you've got 10 million people, that's 200 listings a day, right?
Yeah. So
that's
20 listings per million per day is our rough calculation,
number.
Right? I mean, we're still growing all the time, so it's hard to just pinpoint that.
Well, if you have 200 fresh listings every day, that's a lot. I mean, one person isn't going to be able to work through that. I mean, the average 10 million market would be enough for a lot of guys.
Yeah, yes, in a heavy populated market. Now, I want to say that we find just as much success in the rural areas as we do metro areas, and it's kind of really interesting to watch because when you have these successful acquisition guys in rural areas, they're coming to find out that you don't have the purchasing power with private party people, right? So in a rural area, they have a hard time selling their vehicle, right, when they list it in a rural farming area or whatever. So a lot of people go after that. The dealers that are successful, they want the rural areas, So it's kind of a balancing, between the metro and the rural.
That makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
Like if you're in a rural area and you've got a Volkswagen to sell, and there may not be a lot of Volkswagen buyers, around you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Nobody has the money to cut the check, right? What's the population?
Yeah. Now, if you got an F-150,
Yeah.
you could probably just drive down the street, find somebody to buy it. But
Yeah.
but I mean, I could see that. The unique vehicles would be really hard to sell in a very lightly populated area.
Yeah. And I think the Metro, it's a little more competitive, right? Population drives that. But, we see it kind of even out across the board. When you look at population and number of listings, right? I mean, you can be successful in any market, right? If you just dedicate yourself to it.
Well, let's kind of talk about the financial opportunity from top to bottom. I mean, maybe start with, the money you save acquiring the car, then let's talk about the money in recon, and then let's talk about, how selling the vehicle. Like maybe give us kind of a start to finish, the financials around this opportunity.
If you look at the financial growth side for a dealership, right? So on the private party side, when you have on the retail on the front and back end, you're going to see 3 times the gross. You're not paying heavy at the auction. You're not paying the acquisition fees at the auction. So your cost of your car, your vehicle, is a lot less, right, than the auction. So you're going to have more gross in it. Just bottom line, people get better care of it. So you're going to have less recon. What I found too is the last 2 stores I did is the wholesale avenue is tremendous, right? People want to get rid of their clunker or their junk or something we don't want, so we flipped a lot of cars. I had 2 people doing it in my last store, and we were doing 90 to 100 grand just a month in wholesale gross.
Wow.
And you still get to meet all these people. They become customers too, right? And you relieve them of a pain point, because a lot of stores don't, how are we brought up, right? Wholesale. We don't want to do wholesale, right? You should only do a certain amount of wholesale, right? Well, I'll take that wholesale gross all day long, especially when I didn't have any new inventory, So there's that avenue, and then the shop gross is you're going to have cleaner cars, right? You can raise your internal labor rate, on used cars and hold that gross to the bottom line, like every good operator knows to do, right? So, and I go back to the other fact that you just drive a lot of traction to your store. I mean, that to me, even though you have all these avenues of gross on top of private party acquisition, just every dealer and good operator is always looking for traction and energy and creating, and driving people to your store. And when you see all the listings in your market, and I look at it like it's just opportunity. These are people to meet, right? They got their phone number, their email, there's a way to contact them. I mean, how much would you have to pay for that if you were to advertise, right? You can't get these people, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we were always chasing buyer intenders. Well, let's chase seller intenders because they're going to turn into a buyer faster than, nobody listing their car.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, it's a great avenue, right? And so, I grew up in the business and I was always looking for new avenues, to create gross for your store, right? And it's right in front of us.
Well, and you're buying everything. Yeah. I was, I was under the impression you were, kind of cherry picking the right vehicles.
Yeah.
You were getting the ones that were the cleanest and the best and the ones you could sell. But realistically, with the wholesale opportunity, you're just buying anything you can buy right.
Yeah. And I think that comes from the approach where I want to meet everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I want my team to meet everybody in my market I can all the time. Right? So why not do a transaction with them? Why not help them with something they got to get rid of? Why not help them with the paperwork and get to know them? And they always come back. When you treat them fairly. So,
Corey, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, we got some really exciting news coming out. We got version 6, so we're going to be into our 6th year. We're launching version 6, which is going to be so much more cleaner. It's got a lot more automation behind it, a lot of great new features, a lot more appeasing to the eye, which, our platform is great right now, but it looks just amazing. So we're very excited about this version coming out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Corey Abel from VETTX. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.